our guest on the Baseball Happenings podcast. This episode is Rob Friedman. You might be familiar with him as Pitching Ninja on Twitter. Rob also is one of the beneficiaries of a baseball card in the 2020 Topps Allen and Ginter set, which is a monumental occasion here in the hobby. Rob, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Thank you. Rob, I want to start out with, how did the opportunity come about from Topps for you to get a baseball card in this year's 2020 Allen and Ginter set?
Yeah, I have no idea. Actually, they just contacted me. It was really cool. I guess folks at Topps were fans of my account on Twitter and just said, "Hey, we'd love to have a card, with you on it." I was like, "Holy crap, that is really cool!" Because it's one of those things when you're a kid, you always wish you had a baseball card, but you never thought it was going to happen. So yeah, I thought it was really. It was awesome. I said yes in about 2 seconds.
Right, and who wouldn't? From the time that they brought you in, did you have to keep it under wraps until it was officially announced?
You know what? They didn't make me keep it under wraps. I think they like getting the hype on that stuff. I didn't do it until I actually got the cards. I didn't say anything because you just never know with the COVID stuff. It was going to be delayed or whatever. But it was just really cool. It was awesome to get boxes of cards and have them, signing them and all that stuff. It was pretty cool.
Can you take us through that process a bit? Because it's old hat for the major league players that have to sign them. They're used to doing this in front of the Topps reps, but how did that work that out? Did they send them to you and they're like, all right, you have to film yourself, or did they send a representative? How did that work out?
So you actually have to sign an affidavit saying that you signed them and have a witness to you signing them. So basically, you get all those cards. They tell you what to do. They give you the pens to sign with, and you have to use a certain color pen for certain cards, certain number of cards, and they just map it out really well. But yeah, you have to. They take it all seriously. You have to put no tamper seals and all that stuff on it. So it's absolutely legit. It made me feel like a major leaguer.
And how did you play it to your son? I know your son pitches, and you're like, here, you've been playing this game your whole life, but Dad's got a baseball card.
Oh, I can guarantee you there was a ton of trash talk, and there still is. He has a baseball card from back when he played at Perfect Game at PG National, but it's not nearly as cool as my baseball card. I definitely gave him a lot of crap about it, and I'm kind of, I can be okay humble, but not on something like that.
Right.
I'm gonna brag like crazy
because, like you said, this was something that as a kid, every kid wished they had. And speaking about as a kid, did you collect? And if so, or who were some of your favorite players collecting growing up?
I would say way back when, it was folks like Tom Seaver, who just died recently. He was definitely one of my favorites. Nolan Ryan, really old school, and then newer guys back then, kind of also that I collected. Greg Maddux is obviously a top tier one to collect. I think I got a Ricky Henderson rookie card somewhere too.
It's a great looking card. Topps actually done some work this year with having artists reimagine classic cards, and that was one of them. So it's really been cool to see what the artists have come up with. Did you collect with your kids as well? Is that something that your kids got into as they played?
Did. Yeah, they did. And we have a bunch of different sets, even the USA team when Max Scherzer was on it. Have autographed cards from that. Definitely encourage my son to collect cards because it's just fun. It's a great hobby. You can learn a lot about the game, and you learn about trading and business stuff too around it. So there's a lot of good things that happen from card collecting.
Sure,
but yeah,
it's really come back around.
You mentioned that Topps, the artist one. That got me back into buying and trading and just owning baseball cards again.
Really?
I've gotten a few of those, and I'm just like, this is awesome. At the Mariano Rivera, the first one that came out, I have some Sandy Koufax, Nolan Ryan, Dwight Gooden. Yeah, because I was like, they are really cool. I thought it was. I mean, it got a lot of interest, I think.
Yeah, I've interviewed a few of the artists. I'll have to send you over some of the interviews. They're good people, and it's cool to meet them because, like, we weren't really familiar with them beforehand, and now they've really captivated a lot of interest, through the work that, they're doing with the, with the cards. One of the things for, again, the people who are like, this is their first time with a card, do you have a plan for, like, I'm sure people are going to start reaching out to you if they haven't already, like when the cards hit and they're going to be like, Rob, we want you to sign the card. Have you figured out how you want to work that out? Because I'm sure people are going to reach out and say, hey, we want to mail you the card to be autographed.
You know what? I've had a couple people ask me, and I don't even know what the right thing to do on that stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the protocol is. It's I'm apt to do it, but I don't want to like spend my whole day signing cards and mailing them and all that stuff. I mean, that's kind of more than I'm into.
Right. Most collectors usually send it with like a return envelope or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just awesome to have a card. So if anybody else thinks it's really cool to have a Pitching Ninja card, God bless them. Yeah. I mean, that's I want to encourage that. I'm not going to be the guy who's like, no autographs, please. I mean, shoot, you got to be kidding.
You have a really large platform, to push it. Over 240,000 followers right now as of this taping on, Twitter. What's that ride been like for you, on the way up, watching your reach grow and being, followed and even consulted by, current and former Major League Baseball players?
Yeah, it's something that I never thought of. It wasn't like a plan. So I just put stuff out there because I had been coaching, wanted to share stuff that I had learned, coaching kids, coaching travel teams, coaching high school ball. And as I kept learning more and more stuff, I just share it. And I ask a lot of questions, and luckily I was surrounded by a lot of good people to ask questions to. And my way of learning is to challenge other people and to see what sticks and to look at what major leaguers do and compare it to what I'm hearing from folks and saying, well, that's not what this guy does. And so as I would do that, I'd put it out there and people are like, wow, that's really interesting. And then I had major leaguers come back and say, hey, can you get me this pitch grip? Can you do this? What do you think about, whatever? And it's funny because they would rather ask me than ask their team a lot of times. I just don't think they want to bug people or they feel like they're going to get told no or something. So I'm always like, that's fun to me. That's a blast. So the whole thing's been a blast.
Yeah, and how have you managed that? Because, there's this growing debate, especially like a lot of retired players are active on Twitter about, the insiders versus the outsiders. And you seem to grow in acceptance. Like you said that you've had people willing to, come to you because you've like done the work and, asked the right questions or quote unquote right questions. How have you managed that? Because there is some strife in that of like, well, only a pro could know because if you didn't play at that level, how could you know?
Yeah, and there are some things. So that's the other thing is I think both sides need some humility. So I can't tell you what it's like to be on the mound in a World Series. John Smoltz can. So anything about that, I'd listen to. But pro guys, some guys, the problem is the game is almost too easy for them, and it's very hard for them to teach or to take it apart. And when the game is harder for you, sometimes it's actually easier to teach it because you had to learn it. So it's like Michael Jordan being a good coach. He probably couldn't be that great a coach because he expects so much out of somebody. He's like, well, why don't you just do a 360 here? Like, because I physically can't do it. So there are people that are just gifted that expect others to do it, and it's harder for them to teach, and maybe they take it for granted and don't look at the smaller parts of the game. The other thing is with analytics and stuff, I think a lot of the older folks did not have the ability. They didn't have it, so they all think that they got it done without it, so everybody should be able to. Well, they might have lucked into getting it done without it, or they might have been even better if they had it. So it's a fine line. I mean, you don't want to, like, to me, it's about players having some humility and fans and people that are coaching and all that having humility to learn and listen to each other.
Right. I think a lot more listening has to go on just in general,
yes.
with the sport and everything else that's going on around it. One of the things that you've been very innovative is, using the technology and the footage and not to rehash something that's old, but to keep it in context. you ran into a little bit with MLB a few years back, and you've gotten over that hurdle. What changes have you seen MLB make with embracing social media? Because at the time a few years ago, they had such a restrictive social media policy that I felt like MLB shot themselves in the foot for like a really long time by being a little too tight with, 10-second clips of their own material.
Yeah. And actually, I think that's one of the areas where I feel like I've had kind of inadvertently the biggest impact, because I was doing it. So I knew that I was in the best position to get them to change, because I was using it for coaching. I wasn't using it for so people wouldn't watch your games. I was, if anything, trying to generate more interest in the games. So what happened is after they contacted Twitter and had my account suspended, they actually said, no, we like what you do. We just want to make it more official. And I thought that was a big change, and it really changed the way they look at the game, because they understand now when they have people talking about it and sharing clips and stuff, it actually makes people more interested in the game, and it doesn't make them not get MLB TV. It makes them want to watch everything.
Right. And I think that's something that they didn't really have a full grasp on for quite a while. And I hope now, like, people like you have helped them, like, hey, this can push it forward, because I can show some like awesome things that people are doing on the mound, even if it's with the overlays or, the crazy spin that guys have on a pitch. This is worth watching.
Yeah, I think that has they've now changed their mindset on it a little bit, it seems. I don't know what their official policy is, but they do seem to be sharing more clips, and they don't seem to be coming down on people that are doing stuff, as long as you're not like broadcasting an entire game or something. I mean, I understand that.
Right. I mean, that used to come on the end of the broadcast anyway, right? This is,
right.
Not for reproduction.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there's a fine line between just sharing it because you're a fan or sharing it because you're a coach, and sharing it because you're trying to make money off their stuff and rebroadcast it. I mean, that's a totally different thing.
Yeah, definitely. Completely agreed. One of the things you've been able to expand into is the Flatground App and the Flatground bats. And you've helped a lot of, especially pitchers, get exposure. How have you managed to expand into that area and manage both things that you're doing?
It's hard. It takes a lot of time. But the big thing is, like, I just want to leave baseball a better place. And I thought having my kid play in tournaments and stuff, yeah, I can afford to take them to tournaments and to take time off work and do all that stuff. But a lot of families can't. And it makes baseball an exclusive club. And baseball shouldn't be a rich kid's sport. It should be available for everybody, like it is in the Dominican Republic or other places where it's not about money. It's about how much you want it. But here it seems to be about like what bats, $500 bats and $400 gloves and $3,000 travel teams and $2,000 showcases and stuff, and everybody's making money off it. And I was like, there's got to be a way to take my followers who are baseball coaches and schools and stuff and scouts and turn it for good. So I gave everybody my Rolodex by tweeting them out there on Flatground and making sure that everybody had opportunity for free.
Yeah, because, youth sports, I think, I'm in that field, and I think youth sports is getting hamstrung, a lot, because the barrier entry just keeps going up and up, especially in baseball, as you referenced. And if you had a kid that went through it, which you did, like, you can understand and appreciate, by being able to make this available, because there are so many kids getting priced out of the game. Do you see an eventual shift away from that, or how do you think baseball as a sport is going to adjust, because it seems to be, run by these expensive travel organizations?
Yeah, I don't see it going away. I think there's always going to be some of it, but there is going to be, as long as there's an ability to get seen for free. Baseball is just more expensive than some other sports. I mean, you have to have a bunch of people with equipment, unlike a basketball where you just need a basketball.
Right.
Basketball. So, there's that, and then there's people. There are people, and they're not necessarily in it for bad. They're in it to make a living at the sport. So they charge people money to make a living, but it keeps going up and up, and parents don't want to see their kids miss out, so they're wanting to spend that money.
Yeah, that fear of missing out is huge. My eyes opened up a few years ago when I coached in Perfect Game. This was like maybe 3-4 years ago, and I didn't realize all the money it took to take a team from New York, to go down there for whatever, a week and a half, and you do the numbers, and to take a team down there, it's like 20,000 if you want to like fly a team and a hotel and vans and hotels. This is not cheap, and if teams do a few of these trips per year, you easily could see how it becomes $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a kid, and then you're trying to give the coaches something, a wage that's gonna make them take a few weeks out of their summer to travel.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the problem is exactly that, and it's going to get. I mean, I don't know that it's going to get better, but yeah, I just don't know.
So, to wrap everything up, and I've been appreciative of your time, and how do you think like you being on the card is going to like affect your exposure to the greater baseball community who may not be familiar with your work?
That's a great question. I mean, I've literally, since it hasn't come out, like I haven't seen the impact yet. All I know is it's really cool. I mean, I hope that it has a positive impact and makes more people interested in what I do and understanding more, and just more interested in the game itself. But yeah, I mean, I'm curious.
Well, we're going to see pretty soon once the product hits shelves. If people want to connect with you, what's the best way? I know that you're at Pitching Ninja on Twitter. How else can people find you online?
I'm also on Instagram at Pitching Ninja and on YouTube at Pitching Ninja Videos.
Great. So, folks, look out for Rob Friedman's card in 2020. Topps, Allen, and Ginter Baseball. And again, check him for Pitching Ninja on Twitter, Instagram, and like you said, on YouTube. Rob, we really appreciate your time this evening.
Hey, thanks for having me.